to put the Cape Shore into words. A blend of magnificent coastline and lush farmland on the southwestern tip of the Avalon. But it's more than a piece of Newfoundland. It's also a piece of Ireland. It's Waterford and Wexford, Kilkenny and Limerick. Hundreds of years of Irish tradition brought from the old world to the new. Poverty-stricken farmers left Ireland in the 1800s, searching for a new life while clinging to the old. The farmhouse, a wood pile of sticks, the fields marked with simple fences. It's changed somewhat over the years. Many have exchanged plows for fishing nets, but there's no mistaking the ancestry. And how's this year been compared to last year?
Ireland is down a bit. Yeah, it's not as good as last year, but now we're willing to put up with it for this year anyway.
From generation to generation, there's no mistaking the ancestry. Can I ask you what your name is?
Andy Murphy.
And what's your name?
PJ Murphy.
The first time I visited the Cape Shore, I felt as though I'd left Newfoundland far behind. That somehow I'd wandered into what they call the old country. The emerald green sheep pastures, the farms laid out as they were centuries ago in Ireland. And of course the accents, pure and undiluted. The closest thing to Ireland this side of the Atlantic. And yet most residents of the Cape Shore today have never even been to Ireland. In fact, until recent years, most had never even left the Cape Shore. But it was that very isolation that kept the old ways so intact. Nick Murphy knows about the old ways. In fact, around here they call him the Irishman, quite a distinction in a shore full of Irish. And he's never even visited Ireland. But his grandfather came from County Mayo in 1842 and gathered wood for the stove, like Nick does. And why are they laid out like that?
I don't know, it's just the first way the old fellas piled them was like, they used to call the wood, they used to call it starragans. That's the name they had on there. They wouldn't say you're going for a load of wood, or you hauled a load of wood, you hauled a great load of starragans.
And yet, a lot of people, I suppose most people on the Cape Shore have never been to Ireland.
Never know that, and you hear. A lot of people out here have never done to St. John's. St. John's is only 110 miles from here.
When Nick was a young man, the only way to St. John's was a 30-mile walk to Placentia, and then a train ride to the city. In fact, the last miles of pavement on the Cape Shore were laid only 2 years ago. Electricity wasn't installed until 1965, telephone service shortly after. Things Nick's nephew Sean Murphy takes for granted. He doesn't take his Irish heritage for granted, but neither can the Cape Shore hold him. These days, fishing and farming are too uncertain. Would you like it to stay the same?
Yeah, I would. Be nicer, like everybody with their own kettle and their own horses and all that. You know, it's nicer. See, like using their own land, gardens and whatever.
Are young people still interested in the old Irish songs and stories and everything?
Yeah, around here they are. You go to a dance, like a teenage dance, and you hear the accordion music or anything like that come on, everybody just goes off the head. He likes it.
And that's music to the heirs of this group. The Branch Folk Arts Council has bought an old house to use as a community centre for Irish music and culture.
Oh, Jay, sit there, man.
Hello, Jay. Good day, Jason. You going to take it down for what, Jay?
The drop-in concept seems to work. As we taped, young Jason Power came to see what was happening. He stayed to entertain with a song about Branch, to the delight of his audience.
When the boats have all come in and the plant is in full swing and everyone is in each other's way, the women and the men thank the Lord for sending them His blessings down on Branch St. Mary's Bay. Oh, they leave the pond each day to the Cape Land, sail away and work all day.
Some of the local songs go back even further, like this song about the move from Ireland to Newfoundland, written by the Cape's MHA, Loyola Hearn.
The green of the
shamrock and the green of the pine. The green of the shamrock for the green of the pine.
Ernestine Power is the driving force behind the Folk Arts Council. She and her sisters, Patricia and Rosemary, have been singing traditional songs all their lives, and they're determined to promote that Irish identity.
We almost lost that for a while. In 1965, when we got electricity, and you suddenly had exposure to television and how the other half lived, people were thinking, my God, we're really behind the times. You know, you don't sit around at night telling stories and singing songs. But after, 20 years or so, I think people are coming back again through their roots, and they're realizing that we have something that's precious, and we have something that we want to pass on to our children and our grandchildren.
That's how Gerald Campbell came by his wealth of songs and stories.
The landlord left when he heard a rattling came in down this bill, he said, "Handy up with a big shillelagh, struck the Yankee on the head."
One of the Cape Shore's best known and best loved performers, he says he came by it honestly.
Oh, I'd say it is in my blood. I'd say it is in my blood. My mother used to play the organ, see? She used to play the accordion. But my father was an excellent singer at the old songs. And like I said, I followed behind him.
So now, do you think of yourself as Irish, or do you think of yourself as a Newfoundlander? Or both?
Sometimes I think I don't know who I am.
Despite their strong sense of the Irish, people on the Cape Shore do think of themselves as Newfoundlanders. And there's no great desire to see Ireland. Like most Newfoundlanders, they're preoccupied with the basics of living. Would you ever like to go to Ireland?
I'd like to go to a lot of places. I don't want to do only.
That's George Estate now and his wife.
Gerald Campbell almost went, had his passport and all. But a few hours before his flight...
And I had a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. They blew up Belfast.
Bombs and religious tensions are a world away from the easygoing lifestyle on the Cape Shore. Of course, as Nick Murphy says, around here you'd be hard-pressed to find an English Protestant.
Do you think any English would be foolish enough to move in?
I wouldn't say they would. They might be pretty foolish now, but they're not as foolish as that to come here.
You could say these Irish Newfoundlanders have the best of both worlds, a strong Irish identity without the hostilities of the Irish homeland, and happy enough to welcome the occasional English Protestant and send them on their way with an Irish blessing.
God love you and bless you.
You too.
God love you and bless you.